Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 156 of the Terminal City FC podcast, part of the Area 51 Sports Network. Josh Ray joined alongside Nathan Dirk. As per usual, hello to everyone watching live on the Area 51 Twitter, YouTube, and Facebook platforms. So, lots to talk about on today's show, and of course, starting off with the Vancouver Whitecaps. Game one of their best of three playoff series, round one against LAFC. 2-1 loss, and a lot of positives to take away from this game, but it's also a very frustrating result at the same time.
It's frustrating for the chances that were missed.
Yes, especially the first one.
Yeah. That first one could have been an absolute game changer, possibly. It was a game changer. It's tough to tell how much that would have gotten into the heads of Whitecaps players. I'm talking about Brian White getting that beautiful pass from Stuart Armstrong all alone. Beats Lloris, doesn't beat the far post. That ball goes in. It's a different game.
Yeah, second time in as many games against LAFC where Brian White hits the far post.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know what to say. It was early in the game too, around minute 15, 16, something like that.
Yeah, and the Whitecaps did well in the build-up. Stuart Armstrong with a beautiful pass. And yeah, that would have really made a difference in the game.
And maybe that pass by Stuart Armstrong, that wasn't the only time in the game where he had a ball that was that lethal. He did it another few times in the first half. He's really starting to show what he offers.
Yeah, and had White scored that, maybe the Whitecaps would have won this game. Maybe they wouldn't have not. Maybe it would have gone to penalties, but that game would have taken the crowd out of it much earlier. And yes, the Whitecaps credit, they were winning the ball back, doing well in the build-up, but not enough killer instinct once again. We all talked about the White post, taking shots on Lloris, but pretty easy for him to handle. And some shots were just too high, too wide. Like Pedro Vite had a couple that went wide. And what really killed the Whitecaps in this game were giving the ball away. Like in the midfield, the ball was given away a lot of times. I don't know how many giveaways there were in this game. At least 15 to 20, I would think, for the Whitecaps. And it led to the first goal by LAFC. Yeah. Sam Adekugbe, poor touch. I think he tried to pass it back.
Yeah.
And then LAFC go the other way. Blackman, he blocks the shot. And VAR goes to review it. And it's given a penalty, controversially, because Blackman, at first glance, it looked like he hit his right arm, but it hit his left arm as he was turning. And his left arm was tucked in. Nothing much he could do there, so there was a natural position, if you want to call it, but it is what it is. And you could argue that if this went the other way, probably wouldn't have been given, but stuff like this has been called in the Premier League and in other leagues across the world. So it's a penalty, and of course, Danny Bouanga scores.
Basically, any time the ball hits your arm, shoulder down, it doesn't matter if your arm is way above your body and you're waving to your mom in the crowd, or if it's, tucked flat against the side of your body. I think anytime it could be a penalty these days. I don't know what the differentiation is because we don't see a differentiation between them anymore. So I would say definitely for me, it's about over the last decade. I don't know what a handball is. I don't.
Yeah.
It changes
handball
too often. I don't think referees have anything definitive for them to decide what a handball is. It's just it's become too arbitrary.
Yeah, it's hard to determine what a handball is nowadays. It just gets more confusing as go by. So I said Bouanga steps up and scores, and then the Whitecaps were trying to get back into the game, but again, giveaways were killing them. Like Sam Adekugbe wasn't the same player he was in the Portland game.
Very different.
And fortunately, Ali Ahmed, who got the start, didn't really have much of an impact in the game either. Though Ryan Gull could have tied the game up right before halftime with that free kick, but it just hits the bar.
Yeah. The number of bars in this game for both teams. I mean, you pretty. I think you need two hands to count them. It was quite impressive in the number that there were. I would say for me, the one thing that was positive in this game is you expect a team like Vancouver Whitecaps to go into a place like LAFC, sit back, absorb, and just basically try to hit on counters. They didn't do that, to their credit. They actually did try to play their attacking game. They were pressing high. They were using players like Stuart Armstrong, like Brian White and Gauld in that attack or that high pressure to begin with. Obviously, it's not sustainable over a long period of time, but it was nice to see that, you know, it was there. And it did pay off in terms of showing a team that wasn't afraid. Yes, it's not the result they wanted. I think it gives a lot of confidence, though, heading into the match that's coming up this week. Because if we see a Whitecaps team that is willing to play the way they played on the road in LAFC, where many teams would actually get in their own head, get off their natural game, and try to play more defensive, we didn't see that from the Whitecaps. And I think that's something that we can say, look, they did that on the road. They showed they can go toe-to-toe. Imagine what they can do now if they come home and they have that crowd behind them.
Yeah, and you gotta, as the road record has not been great. I mean, not the road record, sorry, the home record hasn't been as great as the road record for the Whitecaps this season. And now is the perfect time to in September.
Yeah. I will say for me,
going back.
Sorry, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, going back to this game. The White momentum and the attack kind of died in the second half, especially after the second goal by Oliveira. And a great pass by Bogusz, and the Whitecaps defenders just froze, and maybe tackle could have done. Yeah, he could have done better on that goal. Like short side goals, kind of hurts, especially since Takaoka isn't the biggest goalkeeper. And until Fafa Pico came on, the attack kind of died, and LAFC were just hanging on comfortably.
Yeah.
So
I look at this game coming up ahead, and I think one of the big points for me is, first off, how is LA going to set up around Bogusz? Because Bogusz, for me, was the key in this game. He is such a versatile player. Normally when we play against LAFC, he's part of that front three. He wasn't in this game. He was actually sitting back in the midfield, which is what he was brought in to do. They just weren't able to do it because of players that were injured or suspended or whatnot. Putting him in the midfield, so much of what LAFC does ends up flowing through him. And it's like Whitecaps and Ryan Gauld. If you find a way to negate Bogusz, you're taking a huge, huge chunk out of that transitional attack that LAFC has.
Yeah, and Bogusz was like, he and Bouanga were the keys and the cog for that LAFC transitional attack. And you can't have, Vanny said after the game, we keep from getting transitions, but you contain them, because stopping them from getting transitions completely is basically impossible. So you've got to find a way to limit the transitions, and it starts by not giving the ball away so much, or giving Bouanga and Bogusz or any other player out of space to start the transitions. And Bouanga and Bogusz, I mean, those players give me nightmares, especially when they go on the to try to contain them this weekend at BC Place. And that's the thing with LAFC or any good team in MLS. Go down behind, it's hard to claw back because they know how to stick and hold on.
LAFC, if you for this entire season, in any game that they have been leading at the half, they've only lost one.
Yeah,
so
that's what.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
Again, yeah, and good on Ryan Gold actually for getting the goal at the end. Too little, too late, way too late, but it's something, and it doesn't really mean much since this isn't an aggregate. Does build a bit of confidence heading into next week.
Well, let's talk about that a little bit because it was interesting. There was a couple of reporters that asked LAFC players about what they felt about the best of 3 series that MLS does. And universally, they said they hate it. They hate it. And they said it doesn't feel like soccer. It's you get rid of the whole aggregate thing. As soon as you're down, all it does is it makes for interesting games for fans because open up. You lose 1-0, you lose 6-0. It doesn't matter, but it changes the nature of the games. And yeah, for them, especially for players that are coming from outside, kind of that North American landscape, it's a little bit different for them. I got to be honest, I like the aggregate score better. What do you think?
I mean, look at Giroud, but this isn't baseball. This is footy. This is football, soccer. Just having a best of 3 in soccer just feels cheap. The good thing about it is everyone gets a home playoff game, but why can't you just do that over 2 legs with aggregate score?
You can do that over 2 legs. Absolutely. The other thing is because every other sport that has these best of series, they can play games every 2 days. Soccer is it's a week. So if you end up going 3 weeks, you pretty much have forgotten what happened in the first game. Like it doesn't stay in the fans' minds, and they don't get to have that buildup of pressure or that buildup of emotion that goes along with games that are every 2 days that just are back to back to back to back. It's deflating a little bit. You kind of get there, and then you almost have to go like, oh right, we've got a game again. I've got to build back up because I got on with my life over the past 7 days. And it's just too much opportunity for fans to forget.
Yeah. Somebody suggested that if they want to do a best of 3, do Saturday or Sunday, Wednesday, and then Saturday or Sunday.
You would have to do midweek games, I think, to make it work. You just have to argue, is midweek games the best thing to do for MLS? Yeah,
especially the amount of travel.
Yeah.
For MLS, though, I guess especially in the Whitecaps case, but this circumstance, LA isn't that far of a trip. But
no, it's not too bad. I mean, yes, you are playing only in the West, but the West always has more travel than the East. That's just the way. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, unless like Orlando or Miami, who have to travel ways away to certain games.
Yeah.
And just looking back on the game, it's a tough result to swallow, especially considering the amount of chances and how good the Whitecaps were on the front foot for most of the game. Like, to be honest, other than a few giveaways type moments, I mean, even Matias Laborda didn't have any of those moments. Ranko Veselinovic was Ranko Veselinovic.
Yeah.
I mean, tough on Blackman.
Yeah, it's tough on Blackman. Again,
for the penalty, but he looked solid.
Yeah. It wasn't a great game for the wide players, Adekube and Ahmed. And unfortunately, so much of what the Whitecaps do goes through the wide players so they can put crosses into the box. No team crosses more than the Whitecaps. I'm liking this midfield.
Yeah.
Kubas, Armstrong, Vite. It wasn't as effective against LAFC as it was in Portland, but
it showed signs.
It's showing signs. And again, this is only the second game where we're starting to see that midfield really start to gel. Like we're seeing flashes, but they did get skinned a few times in this last game. I wouldn't change it. I wouldn't change the midfield. I would bring back in Fafa Pico.
Yes,
absolutely. For me right now, it's just that position is built more for him. It's not a slight against Ahmed. The position's not built for him, right? They brought him in to be a bit more defensive. That's not what you need, right?
Right. And against LAFC, Fafa Pico's skill set of winning 1v1s is an asset. We kept started looking lively again when he came on with his passes and his creativity, taking on players.
He loves to take.
I'd start
players.
him.
I mean, you talk to Fafa anytime. I mean, he 1v1s. I mean, it's kind of what he does. He absolutely loves doing it. You get that rush off, getting past and kind of making your opposing player look a little bit silly. I think he also brings a little bit of that Richie Larea tenacity to the game.
Yes.
Right? He can be a bit of a thorn in the side of opposing players, and I'm okay with that. If you can knock players off their game, especially when each game matters so much more. It's not like a league where it's 30 odd games. It's a battle of attrition. These games are very, very important. A win matters so much more. I think you got to use every tool in your arsenal, and if you can get a player like Pico where he can do a little bit of those antics, it's your team. I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and by all means, I think he needs to start on Sunday because the skill set suits him against LAFC more than Ali Ahmed. And Ahmed, space before the game, needed to see if he started or came off the bench. Disappointing outlet for him, for Ali Ahmed, because keeps giving the ball away, kept losing it.
This one might not be as popular, but I would also still keep Adekube. I think he knows he had a bad game. Vanni Sartini talked about it at the post-match comments. It's not lost on anyone. I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing for the player. He's going to come into this game wanting to prove something. And if he does it, realizing that he can still play with his team rather than kind of just try to do everything himself on that left side, I want to see him redeem himself a little bit. And I think the player wants that opportunity as well. I'd keep him in.
Yeah, because when he does well, that's basically what we saw in the game against Portland. And
we've seen it so many times on that left. He can be absolutely lethal with those balls he puts in. He's lethal at his placement of crosses. We see what he can do when he's challenging the byline and puts balls in very, very low for players to slide into. We see what he can do when he puts the ball up and is knocking into Brian White's head. And I mean, who does more heading goals than Brian White? It's a very good combination. He's also really good, and we saw it. It was a few games ago where he can attack the box very, very well, and then look for those cutbacks. It was I think it was one of Ryan Gaub's goals a couple of games ago where it was it almost looked like a set play. The way Adekube attacked into the box, running on the byline, cut the ball back, and just a one tap.
Yeah, and speaking
there's
of
many
crosses,
ways that he can bring the ball in, is kind of what I'm saying.
But again, needs that second man. Needs someone to get on those crosses, because there are a lot of crosses against LAFC, but too high or either cleared by the LAFC defenders. Props to them.
Well, and that's where I think someone like Fafa Picault will operate as well, because he's normally playing, or at least lately in the last two games, we've had Gauld play on the left side of that front three. Now, I mean, obviously that's just on paper. They can roam around. But if you have someone like Fafa Picault on the right, he will be that second guy every time. He's hungry.
Fafa Picault has been known for scoring headers. We've seen it a lot this season. So, I go with the same lineup, except Fafa Picault in for Ali Ahmed. I go again the same defensive line as well. because they weren't the problem against LAFC.
No, they weren't. And actually, if you take a look, this is another one of those weird ones where the match on paper was very, very even. Same number of shots on target. It was almost 50-50 in possession. I think the Whitecaps actually edged possession at like 52. They had better passing. So much. You go back to the LAFC game a few weeks back, it's the same thing where on paper, the Whitecaps looked like the better team. Like if you're looking at the box scores in like the 90s in the newspaper, you'd wonder what happened. This is another one of those games where the eye test is different than the metrics. I think if they can keep doing what they're doing, things are moving in the right direction. It's just, are they moving fast enough? You don't have a whole lot of time in playoffs.
Yeah. Well, at least they don't have to rest, recover, and plan. And yeah, things are moving in the right direction. But like you said, just how fast can they do it? And like what we said last show, how Shrundolo and Vanni Sartini adapt to game 2. And once again, do or die for the Whitecaps. Their season is on the line. The game will be on that. Hopefully it's a big crowd, and from what I've been like hearing, tickets have been selling, so that's something. Nothing about the upper bowl being open as of the time we're recording this. So it's again 5:45 on Sunday. I don't know if this is on TSN, Apple TV, obviously, but heading into this game, and get those, once you get those chances, finish them, and don't have any of those, defensive lapses.
Brain farts.
Yeah, the brain farts, bozo moments, whatever you want to call it.
Absolutely. My prediction, still 2-1, but I'm going to go with Whitecaps on this one. I have to, because otherwise we're in for a bit of a quiet winter.
Yeah, I think I'll go with the Whitecaps win as well. Let's go with a 3-2 barn burner with a late Whitecaps goal.
Everything's going to open up. I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And exciting heading into, cautiously optimistic going to the game, especially considering what transpired in game 1. And we'll see what the game plan is for both coaches and who can adapt Sunday. And MLS is not the only North American soccer league that has playoffs. Of course, we got the CPL in the playoffs as well. So Pacific lost to York United in the, I guess it's a playoff game, a play-in game in the CPL. And again, Pacific, they look like they were the better. And again, you can't win if you can't score. So
or if you don't shoot.
They did shoot, but where were the goals? And that pretty much what almost made them fall out of the playoff picture for a while. But they clawed back playoff win. And that was a historic moment for them and for the players and their new ownership. Oswaldo Leon got one with a great transition goal in stoppage time. And at the end, there was a little kind of like a hockey like scrum. I can't remember which player, but and then Sean Young kicks the ball at the York United player, and this whole scuffle starts.
It isn't necessary, right? Like, it's just, I don't know. When I see this in football, it feels very childish. And I get it. It's playoffs. Emotions are high, but I don't know. Maybe it's the fact that it's a 90-minute game and really only about 56, 57 of those minutes are actually used to play the game. The rest is just players standing around while you're waiting for different calls or whatever's happening. There's so much time for the energy to deflate in games. I just, this level of childishness is just, it for me, it ends up being a little bit surprising that it's able to build up like this.
Yeah, the ball at the, this is intentional or not, but I know you're mad you lost, but don't kick the ball at the guy.
I know. I mean, the thing is, that happens. It's you're basically making the referee now having to make a decision against you and not anything else.
Yeah, and Benjamin Moore pretty much held out his hand and started talking to players when that happened. Like, don't like calm down. I need you all for Sunday.
Yeah. That's just it, right? Like, you are not helping your team. You're not. You're being a detriment right now.
So York went on to Atletico Ottawa, and which had storylines because you know what Atletico Ottawa's coach said about York a few weeks ago, which we talked about.
Yeah.
So Olympicos, the first goal of this game was literally an Olympico.
The Canadian Premier League and Olympicos. I don't know how often it happens, but it's almost like every week there feels to be something.
Yeah, and it's always from Ottawa, I feel like. And Ollie Bassett, this one just, it felt like poor marking here from York, and it just squeezed past everybody. I mean, Atletico Ottawa was going to win, and then Jamo gets a header from the throw-in, like deep into stoppage time. And then extra time happens. Del Campo scores a penalty. And then the instant CPL Classic right there. Goes to penalties, and Ottawa prevails.
Yeah.
And I think the CPL playoff format, this is weird, they call it, for the right to host the CPL final. And it was Cavalry who came on the edge with Wachowski's goal, Golden Boot winner, of course. And Forge couldn't really beat Carducci and the Cavalry back line. And props to Cavalry for holding the regular season champions to 0 goals. So Cavalry won the elimination final this Saturday. I don't know. This is such a weird format.
Playoffs in North American sports. It feels like not only MLS but CPL too are trying to take this global game and just fit like round hole into a square peg into a round hole a little bit. Like they're trying to just make it. They're trying to find this weird middle ground between the whole overview of what soccer is, but make it weirdly palatable for a North American audience that's used to a different format when it comes to sport and playoffs in general. It always ends up being a little clunky.
Yeah, but why can't you just have the prelim final be the semifinal?
Have a playoff
or whatever.
Just make it the top 4. Just make it the top 4. 1 plays 4, 2 plays 3. Go to a final. Done.
Simple. Hey, right? And I don't mind the 4 versus 5 games.
Get rid of these plans. I'm sorry, but if more than 50% of your league is making the playoffs, it's too much, and that's MLS and CPL.
Yeah.
It's just
personally, I don't mind play-ins. I mean, more leagues are doing it, across North America, like NBA, it's really worked there, but it does feel too much.
I don't think you need it in football. I don't think you need it in football. It diminishes the importance of your regular season.
Yep.
And the regular season is what is the vast majority of your product. So why are you diminishing the vast majority of your product?
Yeah, ends, which you inevitably will in the next few years. The playoff format will be tweaked. Maybe we'll get rid of this weird prelim final thing. So this Saturday, it's Asian finals, they call it, but I call it like the semifinal. And then the CPL final is next Saturday in Calgary.
Yep.
Forge has hosted it the last like couple years, I believe. So it's cavalry start. CPL playoffs, and the Canadian women's national team did play a friendly in Spain over on Friday, but 1-1 draw. Canada did go up 1-0 thanks to Marie Yasmin Aladu.
Yeah.
But Spain, the press, their star power, this is the World Cup champions, remember? And it was a tall order to beat them in their home country. And if Spain were pushing and pushing, it was coming.
Yeah.
And it did, 89th minute.
89th minute, just tough. To go to Spain, to get a draw against Spain is quite impressive, but it's more impressive when you take a look at the numbers. Spain had 73% possession of the ball. Shots were 32-5, 10-1 on target. Spain dominated all avenues of this match. For Canada to go in there, be leading the game for a significant portion of it, almost the entirety of the second half, and still come away with a draw, there's no shame in this.
Yeah, it's a friendly, but a draw, you take it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. It's a tough one. But they held their own.
Yeah, props to Kaylin Sheridan for some great saves, and the back line for doing the job, made some good blocks in the box.
Which is really nice to see, because Sheridan sometimes has a habit of getting red cards. If you take a look at her play in the NWSL, she goes in quite a few walkabouts.
Yeah, though the midfield and the attack could have been better with the build-up, but it's kind of hard to do against Spain's really lethal press, but prop road on the back end for getting the job done against Spain. I mean, there's good things to take away, but lots more to be worked out, especially in terms of the attack and scoring down the line for the women.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and cool for you especially. The Northern Super League, Halifax Tides, has their first signing, and it's a name that Canadian soccer fans should be familiar with. Former women's national team goalkeeper and Olympic gold medalist Erin McLeod, and she's also your hometown.
Yeah, she's actually was from St. Albert, Alberta, my hometown. So really cool to see that. I think a really good signing. I mean, this is part of the Canadian women's landscape for years and years and years. Hasn't been for the last number of years, which makes sense when you realize it is a bit of an interesting signing. She's 41 years old. She's a goalkeeper. We've seen goalkeepers play for many, many years into their career. It's a different kind of toll on your body. Goalkeepers can take it a bit. I do feel like this was McLeod waiting for this league, right? Waiting to come to Canada.
And they were waiting for her.
I think that's awesome. I think that's great. Most recently, she's been playing for I'm going to pronounce this horribly, Stjarnan in Iceland. Being goalkeeper up there. but she has played in a number of places across various Scandinavian countries, and then also NWSL. Obviously, started her career back in 2004 with the Whitecaps, and then from there has traveled. Like I said, the globe. She's played for multiple teams throughout Scandinavian countries and a number of teams in the NWSL. Back in Canada with Halifax. Again, this makes me wish that there was a team in Edmonton. I think she would have been a fantastic signing to go, play there, because St. Albert's basically separated from Edmonton by a traffic light. But still, to be back in Canada is nice to see.
Yeah, I mean, great way to get people excited in Halifax about the team. Hey, we got a former women's national team goalkeeper as our first signing.
Yeah,
and
I don't think this is not like, don't look at her age and say this is a vanity signing. This is a quality, a highly, highly skilled goalkeeper, a Canadian goalkeeper. This is good. This is, I've liked the different moves that we've seen so far. Montreal has players, Toronto, I think Calgary has signed.
Yeah.
This is this is the second signing, I'm going to say, that's really, really kind of got me excited in terms of player personnel.
Stood out.
Yeah.
The
other one would be, and the name is escaping me, the one woman that signed for TFC, the one that she has like all the records from League One Ontario.
Yeah, her. Yeah.
So very happy to see Erin McLeod because, again, from my hometown, I've followed this player for many years.
Yeah, and someone who has made history with Canada and the national team and is going to possibly end her career in Canada. So full circle here does in terms of players and head coach in the next few weeks and months.
Yeah, absolutely. All
right, so over to Europe. Good week for Chelsea. I'm not going to talk too much about this game. 4-1 win last week over United in the Europa Conference League. Hey, it seems Kyler Mudryk showing some improvement, which is good to see. Gets a goal and an assist, and looked very lively and very agile in the attack. And looked like his decision making has improved as well. Felix's goals, and Christopher Nkunku scores a penalty. It was like 8 goals in all competitions for Nkunku, which is crazy considering that in the league he comes off the bench. And I think the big takeaway many Chelsea fans had from this game was Enzo Fernandez. Don't know, but is he best used as a Pirlo or a Jorginho Regista type role, the deep line playmaker? I mean, that's basically what he is, a deep passer. And like comments on Instagram about him playing deep, so it seems that's his more favorite position. With Argentina, he plays a bit higher up the pitch, but he has like DePaul and Alexis McAllister covering for him. So, and he has played deeper with Argentina too. So it looks like deeper. Once again, the Regista is what suits Enzo Fernandez the best. But the 2-1 win over Newcastle on Sunday, and this game literally took years off my life because it was that stressful. And this guy keeps improving. I keep telling you, well, Nicholas, that's not even the best part. It's the pass from Cole Palmer to Pedro Neto. Palmer in his own half basically isn't looking, finds Neto running down the wing, and then Neto catches up to it, waits, and finds Jackson, who beats Nick Pope. So this pass from Cole Palmer, people are like, one of the best passes you'll ever see, one of the best passes of the Premier League this season. I know football doesn't really give out secondary assists like hockey does, but Palmer
only in MLS.
Secondary assist. Only in MLS because it's North America.
Yeah.
At least MLS is doing something right there. And then the Newcastle goal, it looked like Isak was offside. VAR said he wasn't. It looks like what played him on does it in the end. It doesn't even matter. Chelsea won, but pretty poor defending from Chelsea there to just caught ball watching. Isak finds the hole and beats Robert Sanchez. And that, but I don't know what exactly is it than compared to last season. Maybe it's Maresca's pep talks. Because last season, after the half, they played so poorly under Pochettino. But like every game, it feels like they've been playing much better after the break. And this one, showing and does what Cole Palmer does: score goals, ice cold Palmer. Well, Nick Pope probably should have done better there, but that eventually turned out to be the winner. But not before Newcastle just kept on pushing and pushing. And shout out, big ups to, because Enzo Maresca said earlier in the week that Reece James needs to show more leadership. Reece James heard him, because what he did in this game, like 2-3 big defensive blocks, clearances that almost led to Newcastle goals, that's leadership. That is when he's fully fit. And he's playing on the left too. Goes to show his versatility. So Maresca wanted leadership. The message came through to Reece James, and he delivered. And Moises Caicedo and Romeo Lavia. And Caicedo had another one of his great games. And it's, people don't talk about this because it feels like it's so normal now. Like, I saw a stat saying that Caicedo won more balls than anyone in the game, and he's won more balls by a Chelsea player in a single game in 20. And that was, though.
He's definitely one of the more improved players for Chelsea. I mean, I think all of us can remember that very first game that he had where it was a disaster show.
Yeah.
He's not that guy anymore. He's definitely consistent.
150 million well spent. And Romeo Lavia had cooked on the Isak goal, but it didn't really matter in the end. But Lavia, too, was winning the balls back, making blocks, forcing the turnovers. 20 years old, and the sky is the limit. He just keeps showing improvement. But one negative, I mean, the transitions, man, that's Maresca ball. 3-5-2 transitions, quick, fast, and it was killing Newcastle for most parts of the game, and they just keep getting better and better and more exciting. Some negatives, though. Robert Sanchez. This guy kept giving the ball away to Newcastle players, and when he tried to kick it out wide for the wide players, he kept overhitting it and kicking it out of bounds. I think at one point, Mudryk looked at him like, what the hell are you doing in the second half? And for a goalkeeper that's good with his feet, supposedly, there needs to be better distribution here. And I feel like I've seen better distribution from Yohei Takaoka with the Whitecaps than Robert Sanchez. Different leagues, different players. I know.
Talking about Sanchez in every show, that's for sure.
Yeah, because he needs to stop doing these. And I don't know. Maybe there's something. I don't know what he sees, but he keeps giving the ball away so much. But today, Chelsea actually play Newcastle again in the EFL League Cup, but in Newcastle. And it looks like Philip Jorgensen will start. And honestly, if Jorgensen has a good game today, why not start Sanchez, him over Sanchez on Sunday against Man United? It can't be any worse, right? And still don't know what we have in Philip Jorgensen. Though Enzo Maresca has said Sanchez is the number one right now. And then another negative were so many yellow cards. I don't know. Again, bald referees. It's not Anthony Taylor, but Simon Cooper giving out yellow cards like they were candy for Halloween. And some of them were okay, yeah, sure, deserved it. But there were others that were just weird. Like late in the game, when Cuckoo gets the ball first, wins it, but then he gets a yellow. And you should have seen the way Enzo Maresca acted. I mean, it's the Italian thing. I mean, we've seen Vanni Sartini do it many times. Like, he reacted very angrily, and then Maresca himself got a yellow card. So, Maresca, he gets one more yellow, he gets suspended. And apparently Chelsea have been fined £75,000 by the FA for having too many yellow cards. And they lead the league by a country mile. So, I mean,
so you guys are yellow
discipline
cards,
is an
Arsenal's
issue.
Reds.
Yeah, I think Arsenal leads the league in red cards.
Reds.
I'm pretty sure they do. So some of these were okay, justifiable, but a lot of them this season were just weird. Like, I still can't remember why Sancho got a yellow card in the Bournemouth game. I don't know what he said. So, like I said, Newcastle today in League Cup action, and then Man United, more on them later on Sunday. And one last thing before Chelsea, we wrap up Chelsea, is the other disrespect here. I can't believe this. Cole Palmer finishes 25th in the Ballon d'Or rankings. 25th. He deserved to be way higher than that. Like 15th at least. Top 10, yeah. Why not? But put the likes of Xhaka, Lookman, wrong. I mean, no disrespect to any of those players. They're good players, but come on, Cole Palmer, what he's done for Chelsea over the past calendar year. One of the best players in the world. 25th. Really. Though I don't know someone like Lookman. I mean, he was really good with Atalanta, and the reason why they qualified for the Champions League and won the Europa League, but it's clear Palmer has been better than him. More on the Ballon d'Or later. So 25th is kind of disrespectful to what Cole Palmer did all season. For Tottenham, no sun, no party, classic Tottenham Hotspur, and
Yeah, you know what? We'll start off first last week with Europa League against AZ Alkmaar. A game where they played a lot of the kids. We had Forrester in net, Mikey Moore, Bergvall both starting. I think what we got to see was really the big shining of what Mikey Moore can offer. He was very, very influential in the game in terms of his creativity and how dangerous he was. I mean, right now it's just everything but the end product. He had two glorious chances in the first half to put the ball away. Just a little bit late to get their ball, whether he was late or the ball was a little bit ahead of him. You could argue it. They end up winning the game only 1-0. A penalty in the 53rd minute. It was kind of interesting because as they're getting ready to take the penalty, Madison steps up to take it. He really, really wants to. But Richarlison had also just been subbed on. Madison's the captain. He's going to take it. And I guess after they've kind of discussed it, he goes to the spot, turns around, gives the ball to Richarlison, which I think if you are the captain of the team is a very nice gesture. You've already been out there. You have a striker that has just come on, hasn't scored yet this year. If you can give him the opportunity to kind of just break that and get on with his game, it's a really, really nice gesture. And it was nice to see. Richarlison was definitely very thankful of it after the game as well. Noted what Madison did. And it was nice to see Madison, I guess, kind of have that inner battle a little bit. You know, obviously he wants to take it. He wants to be the hero. He wants to step up. But recognizing that maybe there's a player that needs it more is what you hope to see from your leadership group. And we'll talk about
That's
leadership group. We'll talk about leadership a little bit later because it's one area that is a little bit concerning for Spurs. They did end up going on to win the game. Again, Mikey Moore, watch this kid. Bergvall, watch this kid. They are going to be. There's a reason why they're in the first team. They're making the case to be played more. I get it. They're young. They're both. Moore is still. He
17?
just had his
Did
birthday.
he just turned 17?
Yeah, he just turned 17. His birthday was in August, and Bergvall is 18. So it's going to be amazing to see. But then we have Crystal Palace, and this game, the most toothless attack in the league. They only have 3 points. They have no wins before, and Spurs give them a 1-0 win. It was night and day. If you go back to the West Ham game the week before, to what Spurs did in that game, to who they were in this game, toothless, disjointed, and the big question mark was a lack of leadership. Son wasn't playing in this game; he was injured. But as soon as you take him out, you have this leadership group of Madison, of Romero, of a few of these different players. Benton Core is kind of thrown in there a little bit, but no one really steps up and takes control of the players that are on the pitch. And you really, really saw it. This wasn't the team that you expected. I mean, obviously, Crystal Palace could have had another one. I think they did. That got disallowed. But it was a painful game to watch. And going to later on today, I'm not too sure what to think because we're playing Manchester City in Leagues Cup. So it's going to be very, very interesting to see how Postecoglou takes a look at this game. It's going to be interesting being that it's Leagues Cup, that it's midweek, how serious Man City takes it. If this is Pep Guardiola's last season at Man City, he might want to go and say we're winning everything. He might put out a strong lineup. We'll have to wait and see.
Or it might play
Tottenham has always seemed to have a chance against Manchester City. Last year, not included, they had Man City's number at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. If they can get back to that, maybe there's a game. But they've got to get this Crystal Palace game out of their minds. They got to do it very, very quickly. Otherwise, for Postecoglou, who says he wins trophies in the second season, this could be the first one that they are eliminated from very, very easily.
Yeah, and he forgets he's managing Tottenham, but you got to find a way to
Postecoglou have a different game plan. We need to see. I love watching his football, but he needs to show that he is more than just a one-trick pony.
Yeah, because it's nice, it's beautiful, but it's not working right now, especially with Son out.
Yeah, and Werner is not the answer. In fact, it looks all sides are pointing to the loan being canceled in January and him going back to Leipzig.
It's always a weird signing from the.
He did good when he came last January for that last half of the season. He was good. He was decent. He was a good guy to bring off the bench when you needed him. They were hoping that he would be more the same, but again, you've got a player that just gets in his head so much that it's like climbing a mountain without equipment to get out of it. Once he does, he's a joy to watch. But you always know that right around the corner, it's going to happen again, where a little bit of adversity is just going to sink his confidence. He is such a confidence player, and I look at him and I look at Brian White, another guy who is streaky. The thing with Brian White is when it's not working, he is still trying. Like he's still trying to break out of it, and he has the belief that he will. Werner doesn't have the belief that he will.
Yeah, it's always been about confidence.
Yeah, it's always been about confidence.
So. And just when the guy's low on confidence, it just you can't buy one.
No. Moving around to rest of the Premier League, we talked about it a little bit with Manchester United have sacked Erik ten Hag.
Yeah, and this was coming. We all saw this coming. And Van Nistelrooy, the former United striker and the assistant coach to Ten Hag, is the interim coach. So we all know about United's problems with Ten Hag. Writing was on the wall. And yeah, it was he won 2 trophies, but it was
You
a
know what?
10-year
The thing
of
is, it's funny if you
turmoil.
take a look at his record. And I say recent, I'm going back to Alex Ferguson. His win percentage, the only ones that have a better win percentage than him was Ferguson and Mourinho.
Yeah,
But
like,
you don't know who they are.
that's the thing with Ten Hag's
That's
United.
the problem.
No identity.
You have no idea who they are. So he's clawing through. He's winning games, but it feels like they're winning games in spite of the guy at top, right? Because players look like they're confused.
Yeah, some games that. Yeah, and he had falling outs with so many players. Look at Ronaldo, Sancho, and remember he punished Rashford for having a birthday party.
Yeah,
that was just like let him live his life.
Yeah,
so with Ten Hag gone, yeah, that was.
It seems like they know
Ten
who
Hag
their
gone,
man is. It's just taking time to make it work.
Sporting manager, who by the way, Sporting are like 9-0 or something, which is absolutely crazy. Ruben Amorim, the young Portuguese boss, 39 years old. Both Dave Dornstein and Fabrizio Romano say all signs pointing to it. Still unconfirmed though, because as Amorim's expected to still coach Sporting this weekend.
Yep.
And there's questions surrounding his like 10 million euro release clause or whatever.
I don't think the release clause is going to be the problem, but what it is built in within the release is that Sporting has a clause in there that allows them, if there is a deal for the manager to leave, it gives them a few weeks of a window to find someone new. So they could have a deal already done in place, but he still can't leave
until they have someone new.
Yeah, until someone new comes in. And I think it's like a 2 or 3 week window. And Man United doesn't want that. They want the guy in the seat right away. And that's the sticking point. So I don't know, maybe they take that release clause and say, hey, that's worth another $2 million, right? I don't know. Ruben Amorim, this big guy, this is actually who Man City had picked as possibly the replacement for Pep Guardiola. Yep. So interesting to see this happen. Guardiola has actually come up and said that Manchester United could do no worse than bringing him in. Like, this is a top quality manager. He would make the other half of Manchester a very, very dangerous place to be. Amorim has already come out and said that if it does happen, he's already named 3 players that he would want to bring with him. Yep. Marcus Edwards, former Tottenham guy, is one of them. The other one is that one striker that everyone is looking for, Victor
Gyökeres.
Thank you. And the third name is escaping me right now.
I don't remember either.
Yeah. Anyway, it feels like this is just a matter of time. It's a matter of a little bit of negotiation of how quick they can bring him in. Not this weekend, possibly the weekend afterwards, if Manchester United can get out of their own way and just say get the deal done.
Yeah, and Amorim is a promising young manager, and he's taking a huge risk going to Man United because there is a lot of stuff for him to work with. And I saw a tweet saying that Erik ten Hag was a promising manager, and so is Ruben Amorim.
Yeah, my fear is that he goes here, and you are a promising young manager, and you can't deal with all the backroom stuff.
Yeah, and
right.
I mean, the way he played, like his style is usually a 3-4-3, intense pressing, solid defensive shape, wing backs. I mean, I think it could work well, and especially if he's given the players that and their left back options are injured. Hey, they've been linked to Alphonso Davies.
You just wrote about that. I was going to ask you.
I think Davies could thrive in a wingback position if Amorim does become the Man United manager, but the jury is still out on Alphonso Davies. And
Alphonso Davies has his sights set on a different team. Let's put it that way.
But you never know. Davies refused to talk about his future. And he's like, right now, he's focused with Bayern Munich.
Yep.
So we'll see where this goes with Ruben Amorim, because this guy, I think he could provide the identity Man United have been craving, like exploiting the wings, the half spaces, but like we said, it has its risks.
It has its risks. I think his identity is much more easily apparent. It's going to be a question on whether or not he can put his stamp on a team like Man United, and how quick he can do it, because he's not going to be given a lot of time.
Yep.
Unfortunately, fans will not give him a lot of time because there is an unrealistic expectation with Manchester United now. I say unrealistic because at one point it was completely realistic, but they are not that team.
That's a long time ago.
Yeah, let's be honest. That is history now.
Yeah. So we'll see where this goes. So the Ballon d'Or, as we mentioned. Oh, man. Worst Ballon d'Or of all time. Fraud, robbed. You'll see all the tweets or whatnot about the Ballon d'Or. The guy who I wanted to win the Ballon d'Or, the guy who I thought deserved the Ballon d'Or, might get flamed for this. Rodri does deserve it. And I'm very happy a defensive midfielder is finally getting the recognition he deserves. But you'll say, oh, if Rodri won the Ballon d'Or, why didn't Busquets or Conte or Jorginho win the Ballon d'Or in years past? Yeah, I kind of have to agree with that.
Yep. Let me first say this right now. We're talking about an individual award in a team game. So I can't begin to tell you the depths of how little I care about this reward. I don't care.
I feel like it's lost its magic.
It never had magic for me anymore. It's, I could say a few other things about this, but the fact that Real Madrid boycotted the entire ceremonies, you want to give me another reason why I hate Real Madrid? Here you go. Here's another one. I can't get over how little in my mind this team has any space. Like, just it's an individual award. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Yeah, yes.
The only reason this award matters is because contract bonuses in some individual player's contract. Vinicius Jr. wanted this award because he had a contract bonus. That's it. That's it.
I think
and I agree with you. It's about time that we give this award to players that their job is not to score the goals, but to do the defensive, to do the dirty work. I'm happy that Rodri won. I think you could take a look at the top 5, top 6 that were ranked for this award. Any one of them could be deserved. I'm not saying Vinicius doesn't deserve it. He is absolutely up there.
He deserves it. That's what he deserves as well. But
yeah, I think that the fact that Rodri got it, great.
But I think he's the engine to what Man City clicks. And like, oh, he didn't win the Champions League and all that, but was a key part in the Euros. Was consistently.
They won the Euros. They won the Premier League. They won the trophy. They won the Club World Cup. I'm sorry, like, you can keep going.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah, Rodri doesn't score goals. He's not focused by winning the ball back and doing defensive actions, and of course, providing service. So you can make an argument for either Rodri or Vinicius. Like, well, Vinicius had great numbers. He won the Champions League, but I'm just happy for Rodri. I think this is the most deserved winner, but I get why people are ticked off too.
I don't get why people are ticked off because this award means nothing. It means nothing.
It's because they don't want black players to win the award.
Well, I heard that too. And again, look, if you want to have individual awards like this, split it up based on position.
Yeah.
Because you can't compare the two.
Yeah, and people are saying Rodri doesn't score goals. He's a defensive midfielder for crying out loud.
He's not supposed to.
I mean, he does. He has a few times. But
yeah, but that's not what you judge him on. Right? Like, do we judge Andres Cubas on his goal-scoring ability? Because if we did that, wow. Yeah.
And I just, the defensive midfielder is such an important role. People want to see the flashy stuff, like the beautiful stuff. It's called the beautiful game for a reason. But to me, a solid defensive midfielder is what makes a team tick, and what
Well, it's
makes
like
look
any
so.
and I can't remember who what coach said it, and I can't remember what, but they said it's like any team sport, you build your team from the back.
Yeah,
You take care of defense first. Offense, that's you. I mean, you get your flashy players and all that there, but you gotta get your defense first. You gotta
yeah.
get
Jose
that.
Mourinho did say this once when he
Yeah.
was at Chelsea. Or just well deserved for Rodri. You can argue all day about the list. For the women, it's for the second straight year. Aitana Bontami of Barcelona. No arguments there.
Nope.
I would think, because another great season with Barca and Spain. And for the coaching awards, Carlo Ancelotti for the men, Emma Hayes for the women. Well deserved there for both. Younger, Emdable already. So what more can you say? And Harry Kane and Kylian Mbappe split the Gerd Muller Trophy
for goals. Yeah. So again, not surprised. Mbappe, I think in the rankings for the Ballon d'Or was, I want to say 7th. Harry Kane was 10th.
I think both should have been like in the top 5 or flirting, especially Kane with what he's done. But
it is, but it's tough because you take a look at that. Like, who do you take out of the top 5?
Yeah,
Haaland, Carvalho. I don't think you can. I like the top 5. I think are well deserved. Wherever your rankings are at that point, it almost becomes a popularity contest.
Yep.
So again, this is why this. I don't know. How many reasons do I need for this award not to matter?
Yeah, and this is the first Ballon d'Or without Messi and Ronaldo, and without them, it just feels like it's lost its magic.
Well,
to me, and it's
the show must go on. I mean, players will have careers that end. Also, you're very young, so you don't remember the times that were before these two.
Yeah, for me, it was all Messi and Ronaldo and the Modric.
I remember the Modric year.
People were ticked off
that Modric won that year. I mean, the fact that he is still playing at the level that he is playing is phenomenal.
Yeah. So well deserved to Rodri, and it's funny that people are attacking Rodri on Insta, but they're messaging Rodrigo de Paul and Olivia Rodrigo. I don't know. Are people on Insta, especially soccer Insta, brain dead or something? Like, can't they read?
I think people on social media are brain dead. Hey, add sports fanaticism on top of that, and that's just, it's like putting politics on social media. It's never going to end well.
Yeah. So that'll conclude this week's episode. Hope you enjoyed it. Follow me on Twitter, Joshua00. Nathan is Ender. Podcast is at Terminal City FC. And I should announce that we are starting a YouTube channel.
Yeah.
I think starting next week, we'll go live on the YouTube channel. Terminal City FC. In the shorts, I assume, on Twitter and Insta. Those will be going on there, especially. If we can do some more like just straight up video content about Whitecaps, CPL, Europe, whatever. We don't know how much we'll do, but we'll probably try to do something every now and then. But yeah, our podcast will be getting a YouTube channel. And maybe we'll have some vlogs or whatnot. You never know. So, Whitecaps this Sunday. Against LAFC, and their season is on the line. And if they win, they force a decisive Game 3, which will take place next Friday.
Let's hope so.
Let's hope so. That concludes this week's episode. Peace out.
Take care.